why would you make a record at this point in your career?
Some of the people who encouraged me, relentlessly over a couple decades was Tom Bukovac.
I'm trying to make my own instrumental guitar record, Dan. Tell me how to do it. How do I write a song?
Well, there's no way. What I did was, see if I can get this lick.
That is such a great lick.
Today's episode is sponsored by Gator Cases. Guitarists, like any other musician, value the advantages of proper protection for their gear. Guitars, amps, effects, and accessories all need safe transport and storage. Luckily, Gator's got you covered.
Dan Huff back on the pod for round 2. How do we do this? How do we get so lucky? Dan, thanks for...
You want me to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. No, don't answer that. Don't answer it.
No, you didn't get lucky.
We didn't get lucky.
There's a need that I have of talking about something. So that's...
Dan has a new record out, When Words Aren't Enough. Dan, why would you make a record at this point in your career?
I like that. That's a loaded question. Let me translate that, Zach. Why, when you're at this ripe, off into the sunset AARP age, would I dangle it out there, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
What gives me the audacity to think I still play guitar?
Yeah, no.
No, I'm just joking.
Come on. Why? Why? Tell me why. Was it a creative itch you had to scratch? Did you want something for your kids to listen to? Like, why would you make a record now?
Yes, that's the answer. I think a couple of things converged at the right time. I've been encouraged for, I would say, decades. I mean, that's how long it takes me to react to something like this. I never thought I thought I'd scratched that itch when I had a band in the end of the 80s. Still playing guitar, and then all of a sudden I got onto this side, job, day gig of producing records, which I never intended to do. And that went really well. It's phenomenal. Everything kind of, a lot of luck, a lot of prep and all that. And so 2 decades and a half into that, it's like I always had a guitar. This is where I do a lot of the record, not the tracks and whatnot, but there's guitars around here. So I can always bring a guitar out and articulate something that I can't hire somebody else to do if it's a pinch, right? So I'm always playing guitar. And on some records I save solos for myself just as kind of the caveat at the end of the record. I get to reward myself, right? But my hands never felt like my hands did when I was growing up. For decades, I'd play 8 to 10 hours a day. And there was just there was a disconnect between just me as a musician. I didn't get into music. Number one, I didn't get into music to produce records. I didn't know that was even a possibility. So it wasn't there. I got into playing in records because I loved recording and I loved the guitar. And if I could pay my rent at my apartment and keep my wife happy,
That was it.
That was it. That was as far as I thought. So everything emanated from that. And then so all of a sudden you hit this point in your life, me in my early 60s, and it was like, yes, I have 5 grandsons, little ones. I'm not that ancient, but I wanted them to have a little something their grandpa did. So that was a little bit of a carrot. I always say that some of the people who encouraged me, relentlessly over a couple decades was Tom Bukovac, dear friend. We do sessions together. He's played on a ton of records for me. Dear friend Mike Reed, who's a Hall of Fame. It sounds terrible to have to always qualify people by their accomplishments, but he's a great songwriter. Let's just say that. He's a great musician, great keyboard player. We're close friends. And for other reasons, he said, you should express yourself. So anyway, that led up to all this. And then abject fear, and here we go.
What did you put out like in the 2000s? Didn't you put out something that was called like Solos, or wasn't there something like that? It's on Spotify.
Oh man, no.
What is that then?
I've never listened to it.
Really?
Just on principle. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to keep names out of it. But when I was 19, I think I was 19, I was with a Christian band called Whiteheart.
Yeah.
And it was a deal where I guess legally things can be right legally, but that still doesn't mean they're ethically right? So the person, shall we say, that signed me to those contracts, he owned recordings, right? So basically what happened because I asked my friend Gordon Kennedy, he told me what it was. It was excerpts from records that I either played for him or solos, maybe on White Heart Records. He just retooled with recording new tracks for him, and then released it. In my career at that point of my life, I had made kind of a name for myself as a guitar player, and I guess he just figured he'd capitalize on it.
So, but this is the first Dan Huff solo guitar record.
Yeah, there was one song that I played on, and somebody reminded me of this the other day. There's a record. I think it's called The Players or something like that.
Yeah.
That I think was in the I want to say early '90s, and I did one song on it, and that was me.
Okay.
I don't remember the title.
But this is the first album. Dan,
this is it. Yeah.
Dan, how do you write a guitar song when you're standing on? There's so many instrumental guitar records from your heroes like Jeff Beck. So you've got so many influences to pull from. When you sit down to write an instrumental tune like Colorado Creeping, you're sitting in Colorado, I'm assuming. And
No.
no, you weren't.
No.
How do you write this tune though? Like where do you go to write an instrumental guitar tune?
Well, I mean, there's one answer. I was sitting right here. So
the whole record was written right here.
it was a day. None of these songs had titles. Actually, the irony is that Colorado Creepin' was called song number 1 until I came up with the title. I like alliteration, and I live part-time in Colorado now, and it's where my oldest daughter and son-in-law and one of my newest grandkids live. So that's part of my life. The song felt kind of like it was creeping. There was something weird. It's like creeping just alone. That sounds like a guy with a trench coat in the.
Wait, so how do you write this song though? So what are you messing with? Play me a little bit of this. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear a little bit of it.
I mean, what it started with.
What did it start with? Yeah.
I found grooves. I went through libraries, and there's so many.
I'm trying to make my own instrumental guitar record, Dan. Tell me how to do it. How do I write a song?
Well, there's no way. What I did was I found a groove that I liked.
Okay.
And I had elements of that groove. I just put it up, because I know how to produce records. So I had that accessible. And then I'd listen to the groove, and I just, on this one.
That's it.
And why that came out, I have no idea. But it was like, something resonated with that groove. So I recorded that, right? A little bit of rhythm guitar. And then the melody.
How do you get the melody?
I just started, jamming. I don't know how fast that came in that, but I mean, you just start playing like when you jam, right?
Yeah.
That's really what I was doing. I was just jamming. Didn't have any bass, didn't have any other instruments. And so I don't have perfect recollection of that song. It happened in a day, right? So I started recording that. And the idea was I had an amp here that was on loaner, try out an amp. And I think I started it with that blue Strat. I like that blue 59 kind of reissue. Just started playing. And as I'd play, I was making a demo. So record that, and then came up with sections, put in a few fills just to kind of emulate the arc of a song, the dynamics of a song, and like connect the dots. Just one thing came after.
So then the B section in that song is great. It almost sounds like a little Beatlesy or like a little psychedelic kind of.
Yeah, it was kind of with the wah-wah, which I don't have hooked up, but it's
That is such a great lick.
Love the last 3 notes.
Do we have a good angle of him playing guitar? Is the mic in the way, or is it good? Okay, brilliant.
So
wait, give us that lick a little slower, 'cause everyone's gonna learn this lick. Do it one more time. That's a great lick.
I mean, it's it's like a 5-year-old could play that. But
What do you mean?
well, I mean, but when you speed it up,
Yeah.
and then I doubled it to give it kind of that's kind of this song, I don't know where this one comes from. I think as this whole record was, I decided, as opposed to, we were talking about some great guitar players that are on the scene. You know, I mean, nowadays, I mean, we're sitting there in one of your crew. I don't know if you mentioned his name.
Paul, we're here with Paul Avram right now. He's
Okay,
helping
so
us out.
Paul
Amazing
Avram,
player.
Paul Avram sitting here a few minutes ago, and it's like I'm looking at his playing. Oh shit, you know, there we go. The whole new generation of guitar players, and we were talking about Guthrie, who I don't know any of these guys, but I'm aware of them too.
Guthrie Govan, not Guthrie Trapp, who's also on that list. Yeah.